Germany. They're so tight once again.
Hello everybody and welcome to the RaceRoom Ranked Championship Season 1 Round 1 here from the Nurburgring. While we will not be taking the famous left-hand turn onto the Nordschleife today, we will be seeing exciting racing across the 3 different categories today, all of which of course are having their first round of 4 this afternoon. The BMW M235i, the GT4 and GT3 cars will all be in use today as we go racing in the Eiffel Mountains for the first time in this championship. It's going to be short and it's going to be sharp and it's going to be fun hopefully as well. My name is Ewan O'Leary. I'll be alongside Cam Roger for the duration here tonight. Cam, it's good to be embarking on a new championship here today. It's always exciting, of course. We've got the first round here tonight. It's going to be enjoyable hopefully.
It certainly will. A new concept and certainly something that we're going to be finding out, you know, how exactly it is going to work. As you say, the 3 different classes that we're going to be racing as well, and it's sort of a stepping stone for some drivers potentially to get themselves involved with RaceRoom, especially in this Rookies Championship that is open to absolutely anyone to enter.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get into that a little bit more as we go along as well. But here is what we're dealing with here tonight. It is pretty simple. Qualifying and race for the Rookie, Am and Pro categories. Now, if you're wondering how we're sorting that out, it's basically somewhat down to the reputation of the riders, of the drivers, I should say, which is inbuilt in the RaceRoom system, along with their rating as well, to sort them into splits, gold, silver and bronze. We're broadcasting the gold splits of these 3 races. The rookie classification of driver will be racing the BMW M235i Cup cars. The AM guys will be going with the GT4s, and the Pro guys will be going with the GT3s. All of which we are going to be seeing here tonight. The first of which, of course, Cam, is the BMW M235i Cup. These cars obviously very used to going around this circuit, but very used to also going around the Nordschleife as well. So it's almost like a homecoming for them, and they're always very close. 15-minute race as well, which is absolutely not long at all.
Yeah, class, spec series as well. So no, nothing for the drivers to complain here or there about the differences. They just got to go out and get on top of the car. I was actually doing some laps myself in the simulation yesterday, trying to get a feel of what it's like, and that M235i BMW is actually a really fun car. Obviously not the fastest thing in the world, but especially around this Nurburgring GP track with some of the tight and twisty corners that we do have, it's certainly going to be very intriguing prospects for these drivers.
It is indeed, and this is the calendar that we have for Season 1 of the RaceRoom Ranked Championship. We'll be starting here at the Nürburgring. We'll be going to Spa in 2 weeks' time, then Zandvoort and Watkins Glen at the end of June, where we will see our finale. As I mentioned, only 15-minute races for these BMWs, which means the whole season is done in an hour's worth of racing, which is not long at all. You can't afford to make any mistakes at all in that respect. So that does put the pressure a little bit onto everybody here. We'll talk, of course, a little bit about the GT4s and the GT3s as we get into that in a few moments' time as well. But for now, we'll be stepping into the qualifying session of the BMWs very, very shortly. In the practice session, looks like Ilya Drovosikov is going to be taking that top spot. But will he be taking the top spot by the end of the race? That's the question. Here is what we're dealing with in terms of the circuit as well. It's the fast chicane here, just over 5 kilometres in length, this Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit, 15 corners, of course, in Germany. The fast chicane, Cam, is a controversial one, whether you use the slow one or the fast one. We've gone with the fast one on this occasion.
Yeah, coming from more of a sort of F1 background myself, I always do like that slower chicane. It adds a nice braking zone at the end of the back straight. Although we call it a straight, it does literally have a corner in the middle of it. But certainly it's a nice place for overtaking. However, the fast chicane is just so fun to send it over the curbs and really chuck it in. It's a properly fast sequence of corners, maybe only one, two gears at the most, you're going to be slowing down for that corner. So yeah, certainly an amazing place to even go side by side with someone if you want to have a nice little dive up the inside.
It's a dicey one going side by side through there, but it does make it all the more exciting as well. So let's see if anybody is brave enough to go for it through there. Of course, normally, well, say normally, on some other occasions you might be turning left after that chicane, but on this occasion we'll be turning right to complete another lap around here. So yeah, we look forward to that. It's a great circuit. For one that has got so many chicanes, it's actually a very flowing circuit as well. It feels very flowing to drive. It's a bit smoother than some really horrible chicanes you can see around in the world of motorsport. But yeah, this one certainly one of the nicer ones to see out there in the world of motorsport. As I said, just getting towards qualifying. Now we'll be stepping into that in a few moments' time, and here we are indeed, just under 7 minutes for these guys. In total, not very long at all. I think they get 8 minutes overall in this session, which is also not very long at all. You mentioned how these cars aren't the fastest, Cam. They're not going to be able to get round for many laps.
Yeah, certainly not. And that's going to keep it short and sharp, along with a 15-minute race, as you're mentioning earlier. These drivers really need to get up to speed very quickly, get a feel of what is going on. They have had that practice session, as you were mentioning. I think it's about 40 minutes or so practice session. So they have plenty of time to really get in the rhythm. But then when it comes to it and the lap times all get reset, as you're mentioning, you may only get 2, possibly 3 laps around here. It's not very long for you to set up your lap and your grid position, as we're seeing Rokas to be here coming around onto this back straight, trying to get some track position, but just look at all the cars weaving around and trying to get some places.
Yeah, track position as well. Looks like it's going to be a very, very difficult thing to come by for Rokas to be, by the looks of things, the Dutch driver who's driving for Absolute Motorsport Racing Team, or at least belongs to them, as we go on board with the man who topped the practice session, Ilya Drovosikov, in the BMW, as they all are, of course, from Switzerland, the driver with the highest rating in this field, by the way. The rating, of course, is a little bit separate to the reputation, which we'll be talking about a little bit more in the GT4. But yeah, the highest rating of anybody in this field. And of course, we saw him in action on Friday, Cam, at the 2 Hours of Bathurst, where he was a runner-up on that occasion. So clearly has a number of good results under his belt in recent times.
Certainly, but choosing to come into the rookie class for this one. As mentioned, just remember there are going to be a couple of extra races after this one in GT4s, and then when we get to the pro guys in the GT3s as well. But Drovosekov choosing to come to this car, and it's quite an interesting one. It's really based off the road car, as you can see, where it literally has the full dashboard and the steering wheel and everything that comes with that. So if it's certainly not the the most sophisticated car in that, but it's a very fun car. You need to certainly push to the limits and see what you can do as we're coming up here through the Michael Schumacher S. Got to use all of the curbs here. It's not the easiest car to stay flat out in these fast corners.
No, but it can take those curves, fortunately, for Drovosekov here into what is turn 10 now. A little bit of oversteer there, but keeping things nicely. And then a very important corner coming up here. Need to get a later apex as possible and try and get the best exit possible down onto this straight, which does have a little bit of a kink in it, but it shouldn't affect anybody too much. And out now towards the fast chicane, which you're about to see, the commitment here from Drovosekov into the chicane we go. Over the curbs we go nicely on this occasion. Going to be pushing hard, of course. Over 2 minutes of a lap here as well. So really, as I said, not very long at all for them to set their lap times. Up towards the line now, setting a bit of a benchmark. First of all, what is the time going to be? It's going to be, well, I missed it there, but 2 minutes 6.5. There it is on the board there. And already taking a bit of an early lead by 0.7 of a second.
Yeah, wow, that is a bit of a that he's got. But just remember, just in RaceRoom to remind you, once the qualifying session gets to 0, that is it. You can't finish your lap. So it looks like it's only going to be 2 time laps for a lot of these drivers. So these first laps coming in might be quite crucial. And you can see here we've got Botti on the camera now, down in 19th place there, and needs to really work his way up as we get onto these second laps, because it seems he didn't really set a competitive one on that first time around. And as it stands, As the lap times come in, Drovosekov still got a quite big lead there. Quite a few drivers, though, very close behind. A lot of drivers around that sort of 1.5 seconds off the pace.
Yeah, it's big gaps at the moment, and this one here, Alessandro Botti, hasn't got any lap time on the board yet. I have to say, one of my favourite things about RaceRoom, especially as a commentator, is the fact that we can go through and see where their previous races, or how well they did in their previous races in terms of ranked competition. And I can tell you that I'll try and keep you informed as the day goes on about different drivers and who's doing well in the ranked races and so on. Botti has a couple of wins already at the Nurburgring in ranked races this week and last. He's got a couple of wins already, so knows what he's doing. And of course, not only is ranked races obviously good to improve your rating, improve your reputation, but also it's good practice for events like this. And I can assure you throughout the day that a lot of these guys have been doing a lot of races around the Nurburgring simply to prepare more than anything, as well as the rating and reputation benefits that you can get from it as well.
Yeah, it's great to see that we're finally getting, a big, more major championship out of these more normal ranked races. As you say, you can go on the ranked pages of the game. You can get yourself involved in these races and really get a feel for it. But now that we're having a sort of more official championship now, it's great to see, and hopefully more seasons of this can come. Obviously, just this 4-race season to start off here in 2022 as he comes through this final sector. You see the huge curbs. They're staying on the curb actually as we come into the entry of this final corner, trying to get the best exit you can. It is a fairly short run to the line here. Currently that's 16th place. Where is he going to put himself up to? Up into that 3rd place, about a second off pole.
Yeah, much more like it from Botti, who we're expecting big things from at the start of the day. This is Jeff Eacock making his way through the final couple of corners as well. As Rokas de B gets himself up into 3rd position. No big surprises, really, I have to say, in the top 5 positions. Drovosekov, Guibert, de B, Botti and Lopez, your top 5 at the moment. All of them very much the stronger drivers, you would have to say, in this order. But 7/10 of a margin is certainly a bit bigger than you might expect to see from Drovosekov, but it's very impressive. And that is it for the qualifying here. The Swiss man takes the pole position ahead of Enzo Guibert, Rokas de B, Alessandro Botti and Emmanuel Lopez, your top 5. And we've got Orban, Fache, Ferraris, Morbius and Valle, the top 10. As I said, as you predicted, Cam, it is very close, apart from the gap between 1st and 2nd, which is remarkably big.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting the gap at the front to be that's big as such, but obviously qualifying is one thing and the race is the other. Drovosekov is certainly a very ominous character. Rokas to be there a bit behind. He was quite involved in the early parts of the season. We did the Daytona 2.4 hours, and he was certainly a very a good one in there. So certainly for them to be challenging at the front, but certainly Drovosekov is in command here in this qualifying place. But just look at the gaps behind. They are so close, just a few tenths covering drivers in the midfield pack. That's really where these main battles are going to be.
It certainly is, and we look forward to them as well. Got to remember as well, the reason we're so astonished at these close times, not only because it's a slow car and a car that does see close time gaps very often, but it's fixed setup around here as well. It's not like Drovosekov has found something that everybody else hasn't, because they're all on the same setup here in this race. It won't be the same for the GT4 and GT3 races coming up, where you can tinker around with what you're playing with. But on this occasion, it is a completely fixed setup, and there's nothing you can do to change it either. So yeah, that's a remarkable opening session of this championship for Drovosekov. And as I mentioned, Cam, only a 15-minute race here as well, which is certainly going to make everybody very, very aware from very, very early on, as you have to be. The red lights turn on then at the top of the gantry there at the Nurburgring as we get underway in the BMW M235i Cup here for the rookies. Drovosekov with a good start there, and he's already got a car length over the field by the looks of things, but it's a long, long run down to turn 1. Enzo Guibert gets into the slipstream and looks to the outside line to try and challenge him, and he's going to need to, because he won't want to let the Swissman get away with this one, although there's not a lot he can do into turn 1. Botti looks like he holds on to 3rd ahead of Rokas de B, but will he be able to through the Mercedes arena? He does just about get his nose in front. It's a nice start from those up in front, but it looks like, is that Orban who's gone off the road? I think it might have been, or was it Lopez? Not entirely sure. It was indeed Orban by the looks of things who's gone off at the Mercedes arena.
And that was getting very feisty. 3 wide still as you come down towards turn number 5. These guys pushing because they know the early points of this race where they're so close together is the best place. We're still side by side, multiple rows deep coming through into this middle sector. Multiple bits of contact there. Fashe on the car on the screen at this moment in time, but the contact still continues behind Ferraris. And there's a few drivers involved in there. Pointo in that 11th place at the moment. He did get a drive-through penalty for jumping the start though.
He certainly did indeed, and he qualified a lot further down than you might expect here in this race. He's a very good driver in this car, and you wouldn't expect to see him down in 10th position. Clearly just couldn't string it together, really, as we go back up front. Now, the difference compared to the qualifying session, compared to what we're going to see here in the race, is that the slipstream is going to keep things a lot closer together than you might otherwise expect. So that will certainly keep Drovosikov, at least keep a lid on his pace. However, he's still going to be very, very difficult to beat as they get onto the back straight for the first time. It has all been very calm up front, other than, of course, Orban going around, unfortunately, through the Mercedes arena. He's now down to 23rd. Everybody else looks like they've had a relatively clean start, other than, of course, Pointu, who jumped the start.
Yeah, that's not going to do well because you can't come back from that in a 15-minute race. And already 13 minutes ago, such is the length of this track for these cars. So he's really going to struggle from that. We see some changes in the midfield there, about 13th place. So Catalan, I wonder if he's gone off the track there because he jumped sort of from 12th place down to 15th. And certainly some places all swapping around as we come onto the start-finish straight. Just in the background there, we're getting a bit of side-by-side action already coming way down, so far down. They must have had a really bad exit there out of the final corners. Morbius is getting a bit of a dive, but behind Ferraris, and Peugeot goes side by side into turn number 1. Looks like Morbius is going to be pushed out of the way there as Peugeot comes past for that position into 10th place. But actually, Ferraris comes back down the inside in towards turn number 2. That's going to keep him on the inside for turn 3 as well, which could be really good. But just nice to see these cars can stay side by side for a few corners.
Yeah, they certainly can, and this Mercedes arena as well really does lend itself to that. But it looks like Stanislas Peugeot has just had to yield there and stays outside of the top 10 for the moment. Saw a couple of people, by the way, asking in the chat a couple of moments ago about ranking and reputation and what all this is, or rating, I should say, and what all this is. Rating basically is, to boil it down to the bare bones, is basically how good you are. So the bigger the ranking, then the bigger the rating, I should say, then the better you are, supposedly, in this in RaceRoom, and reputation based on how clean you are during races as well. So yeah, just to give you a bit of a pointer at home, maybe if you're a bit confused. Meanwhile, the top 2 getting away from the rest, Enzo Guiber giving Ilya Drovosikov a bit more of a hard time than he was able to in qualifying. The 2 of them, though, certainly getting away from the rest of the field. Not 4 minutes in yet.
Yeah, just showing that Drovosikov hasn't got this absolute dominant pace in the race. Obviously, they're starting to pull away a little bit from the midfield, but it's good to see the Goibers coming with him and actually get a bit of a slipstream here up towards the far chicane. That's Drovosikov having a bit of a defensive line almost as we come towards the braking zone. You can overtake into this corner, but of course, it is a bit of a risk knowing that just a couple of corners away is turn number 1, which is really the best opportunity. Such a hard braking zone there into turn number 1. Let's see what Enzo can do coming out onto this start-finish straight. It's such a long run. You have a lot of time actually to really get a good slipstream, as they set 7.1 there on that previous lap. He's going to be close now for a dive towards turn number 1. It really, the track really gets quite wide at the apex of turn 1. You can have a bit of ascent, but decides not to this time around.
There's a bit of defence there from Drovosikov, and went actually a little bit wide there, but he's been able to hold on here. Still 10 minutes to go, of course. It's going to be only about 7 laps around here, isn't it, really? So not too long at all. As Guibert gives a bit of a push to the back of Drovosikov through the exit of the Mercedes arena. Things getting very, very close indeed. Guibert, by the way, is a driver in real life as well. He's driven in some iconic 24-hour races, including Le Mans twice. So he's very experienced in the real world as well, looking to make his way into the lead of this race for the Mount, though, and getting very close indeed, almost too close through the Mercedes arena that time.
Yeah, almost pushing Drovosikov there, which is nice to see. Some nice close racing between these guys. And I do think Drovosikov is going to be under attack here because it looks like he can't pull away at this moment in time. And when you see this, when you see someone like Goiber just sitting right behind, that really means he's actually faster. He is maybe a tenth or so, a couple of tenths lap faster than Drovsekov if he can get out in front, and he's really in position right now to start having a think about diving it down the inside this time once again as you come out into the couple of corners before the back straight. Just needs to stay close as Drovsekov there makes a tiny mistake that could cost him a bit of a bad run.
It certainly could. It's a better run through the flowing turn 11 there for Grieber by the looks of things. Is he going to be able to make a move into turn 12, I should say? Is he going to be able to make a move into the final chicane, though? Not really. Drovsekov just fading that car to the left-hand side, making sure that he couldn't make a dive, but maybe into the final corner. Wow, sticks his nose down the inside, but doesn't decide to make a dive for it under brakes as we go a little bit back to Alessandro Botti, who's got his hand full with Rokas to be and Emmanuel Lopez, who are both on his tail right now. Lopez, one of the few non-Europeans in this field, of course, being in the European time zone, but he's here at the moment in fifth and could benefit from this as Rokas to be looks to the inside, realises there's no space and says, well, I'll just go around your outside instead. And he does do that into turn number one. It gives him the inside line for the second turn and, of course, the third into the Mercedes arena. He should have this done, and he does. Blocks Botti from coming back through again, although the Italian isn't quite done yet. He's forced to yield, and Rokas to be is up into the top three.
And that's one reason why I love this first sector, this sort of arena section that they've added. Normally, back in the day, about 20 years ago, it was just a chicane onto this little infield straight. But now, since they've added that, it really allows you to go side by side for multiple corners, have a bit of a battle there coming out of turn number one. And it seems that we've seen this once again as Botti goes down the inside. That is very tight there between the two through turn number 6, coming down the hill now into the Dunlop hairpin. This is a very important corner before you come up onto the straight, and DeBee is defending that one, but he worked his way up there. Obviously started in that third place, lost it a little bit earlier on in that first lap, but Botti now needs to try and come back, but he's got to be careful because Lopez is all over the back of him as well.
Yeah, he certainly is. Oh, there's a bit side by side in the background as well. There's stuff going on up and down the field all over the place, by the way. It would be impossible to catch all of the battling. This was what was going on. Valle is trying to defend from the German the German pairing of Fasche and Morbius at the moment. A bit of weaving around, and the two make contact. Morbius getting into the back of Fasche. He was weaving around so much there with Fasche that Morbius almost had no choice but to go into the back of him there. There was a lot going on up into turn 11 that time.
Oh, so many drives going off into the gravel as well. They do have the incident points. I believe it's 30 that they have over the course of the race. So they need to be careful not to be sort of going off the track or anything like that too often. Otherwise, they will be obviously getting penalties from that. But yeah, the driver's really pushing to the limit. See more gravel there being kicked up through the far chicane. There's a bit of a dive there into the final corner. Fasci having to just think about it there. And now coming out onto the back straight thing. Valle really having to start defending. We're getting a bit of a four-way slipstream now coming towards the inside, coming so close towards the pit wall, really defending this for this 8th place. What can these guys do? We're having a bit of a outbreaking maneuver. Morbius there trying to go a little bit too deep, and in the end is having to back out of that one. He's got a Neige there just behind him, getting very close.
He certainly is, as Fasche tries to make a bit of a move, but can't do any really. Good defence at the moment from Bozos Valle, who is in 7th at the minute, just trying to hold on and doing a good job out the Mercedes arena. This is all, of course, allowing Peugeot into this as well, actually. Just hitching onto the back, and it's become a 5-car train now for 7th position as we look back from the front of it. Although Valle's going to do well to be under pressure here. Fasche is really almost pushing him around this middle sector, now down towards the Dunlop hairpin. Is there going to be a move here? You don't often see them, really. It's not a great place for it, although, because the outside is so long, but Fasche looks like he's going to try anyway. And he goes for the cutback. I think he was going for the cutback there, and I think Morbius got into the side of him. You do have to be careful of that when you're in a train like this. You can't go for the switchback all the time because that kind of thing can happen. I think that is what happened there. Morbius didn't really have anywhere to go.
He certainly did not, as Nej and Pajot trying to come through now. This going to be a 3 wide move all the way down the inside, almost still 3 wide into the braking zone. This is not going to end well. And I think Pajot's going to get past a pair of them. He has, coming out onto the back straight, somehow getting past both cars. Well, Morbius and Nej having a bit of contact there through the Michael Schumacher S, and that ultimately led them both losing a place.
Well, 3 places in just the space of one sector there, mostly because, or partly because Fascio was off the road, but he managed to get Morbius and Nej, by the looks of things, on that straight through the middle 3 wide, and it somehow worked out for Stanislas Pajot, who's up to 8th position now, and slightly off the road there for Nej. Morbius tries to get down the inside. It's all going on in this group. It's calmed down a little bit in the others, I have to say, especially in that battle for the lead, although Alessandro Botti once again coming under pressure. Qualified well, now under pressure from Emmanuel Lopez, but these guys are nearly 3 wide coming down into turn number 1. Difficult to know where to look. Pajot tries to go around the outside. That's far too late on the brakes. Way too late. And he's undone all of his hard work from last lap, and he's back down to 11th.
Yeah, just straight behind those same 3 drivers that he just overtook. And Morbius and Nej get back up there. Still a bit of batting here as we come in towards turn number 3. Side-by-side action between the 2 drivers in the same livery. It looks like Nej is the one who's come out on top of that. Morbius down into that 9th place, and Fasci just behind them as well, trying to get back involved. Nice 4-way battle here. Obviously, you just got to find your battle in these races as they try and have a bit of a look once again down the inside in towards turn 5 and 6. And it looks like they're not going to be any overtaking just here, trying to get each other offline though as we come down towards the hairpin.
Yeah, that was Fascio having a bit of a look down the inside. Pajot just watching on, and Ferraris now is involved as well, or just about involved. You can see the black and yellow car in the background there of Ferraris is getting onto the back of these guys and will be making a nuisance of himself soon, I'm sure again. Just trying to get involved and overtake some of these cars, but he's not got many laps to do so. I don't know if this is going to be the penultimate lap or the 3rd last, but it's going to be pretty close. We're just in the kind of 2:07 kind of range in terms of lap times, so we'll see where we are when we get to the line. But this battle does not show any signs of calming down at all. Fascia is almost looking for a move at every corner here.
Yeah, this lap, he's dived into every single apex trying to find a way past, but Morbius holding on to that 10th place, also that 9th place, I should say. Fascia in this 10th place at this moment in time, coming up towards the far chicane. No real overtaking opportunity for him at this moment in time, but I think he's definitely the faster driver. Morbius goes a little bit wide there, actually. That could give a bit of a run towards the final corner. He knows that he has to defend, and Fascia is trying to get a bit of a wider line. This will give him a good run coming out onto the start-finish straight.
A lot of weaving around as well to try and break the slipstream, which is so effective in these slower cars. And now it is a move replicated by Nej, who's at the front of this train. Now Morbius trying to get around the outside of him. Fasci trying to get around the outside of Morbius. They all dive deep under brakes at the moment. It's inside line for Pajot, who's trying to remake some of those places that he lost this time last lap. And he does get one of them back inside the top 10, although Fasci is not quite going to give this one up just yet. Into the Mercedes arena, still side by side, and he holds the inside, but he's not going to hold it for much longer because it quickly turns back to the right again, and so through goes Pajot finally inside the top 10 again, although it's not quite done yet. They're still side by side into the middle sector.
Yeah, they certainly are. They've got to be careful. And Fasci holds on to that one in the end. A really good bit of driving there around the outside of turn 4, which kept him eventually to the inside. But Ferraris is now all over the back of these guys as well as Pajot tries to get a bit off the line, coming down the hill once again. And these guys really just showing how closely, close they can battle in this car. As we go back to Drovosekov, under a minute to go in the race now. Will he get to the line in time, or is it going to be 1 lap to go?
Yeah, that's it's going to be close. It's going to be seconds down to it. But Drovosekov certainly looks like he's going to be the race winner here. Surely nobody will be able to deny him from this point. As we make our way down through the kink at the Nurburgring towards the final chicane. Is it for the final time? I don't think so. I think Drovosekov is going to have another one. Grieber is trying to keep him honest at the moment, but at 2.5 seconds, that is a fairly big margin. And he's not going to be able to close that down in 1 lap, which it looks like we're going to have more.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be it's quite close on the old time. Less than 10 seconds coming out of the final corner, but they should make it to the line. 4 seconds to go now. I believe we're just going to click over the line. Yes, we do. 2 seconds to go. There's going to be another lap, and some drivers will be loving that, and some guys will be hating it with how close the battling is behind them.
Yeah, they certainly will. As we look back a little bit further down the order, this is Manuel Lopez, the Argentine driver, trying to get his way into 4th position. Alessandro Botti, though, does defend well into the first corner, and so we'll continue on in that 4th position. By the way, this is the gold split out of 3. There's a silver and a bronze split going on elsewhere, but we'll keep an overall championship in the BMW M235i Rookie Cup. So we don't have to worry about that. But the whole 40 points look like they're going to Drovosikov by the looks of things at the moment. And the top 12 will be scoring more points than the winner in the silver category, by the way. So just to give you an idea of the distribution of the points throughout this championship. Out towards the hairpin for the final time. Lopez kind of running out of time to really make this move.
Yeah, certainly. He's running out of corners where there's a big enough braking zone, really. This is one of them, though, coming into the hairpin, but it's a really sort of long hairpin, really cambered in. You can take the speed through it, but Lopez getting a bit of a good exit there. Actually, Botti's going to have to think about defending up towards the Michael Schumacher-esque. We've seen there being some... so this is a difficult corner, though, because you can't take it flat out. That means there's some differences in speed, and it's difficult to hold on to that position. But it seems like he's done it pretty well. Lopez not having the opportunity to get past just yet, but we're coming out onto the back straight, of course, where the best overtaking opportunity left in this race is. But already up towards the final couple of corners is Drovosekov. He ended up pulling away and has got a 4-second lead.
Absolutely. It was an astonishing performance in qualifying from Ilya Drovosikov. Slightly less of a gap here in the race, but still a nevertheless impressive drive. Drovosikov comes over the line right now to win the first round of the BMW M235i Rookie Cup, the RaceRoom Ranked Championship for 2022, off to a flying start. Enzo Guibert gets into 2nd position ahead of Rokas Dabi, who held on for 3rd, and then it's side by side to the line for 4th. And Alessandro Botti looks like he's taken it ahead of Emmanuel Lopez to round out the top 5. The dust gets kicked up in the background as they all fight for the positions. Looks like it's going to be Pavan, who we didn't mention all day, basically. Nej, Valle, Morbius and Pajot rounding out your top 10. Especially in that midfield, though, it was very, very close, and it was very exciting battling indeed, as we come to expect from this category of kart.
Yeah, it's great. First race of the season, didn't know how that one's going to go, but some amazing side-by-side battles all throughout the 15-minute race there. And of course, that is just the start in this rookie category. We've still got the AN in the GT4s and then the pros in the GT3 categories to come up very shortly as well. So yeah, great start to the Ranked Championship Season 1. And really exciting just to see how close they could battle there. I thought the race was going to spread out a bit, but it certainly didn't.
It didn't, especially in the kind of midfield area. It did stay very, very close indeed, and stay very enjoyable as well. Of course, we will be visiting a number of other circuits in this championship from there on in, Spa, Zandvoort and Watkins Glen as well, of course, where we'll see these cars racing out here once again. But it's Ilya Drovosikov with the best start possible in this BMW M235i Rookie Cup. Enzo Guibert finished 2nd, ahead of Dabi, Botti and Lopez, your top 5. There's Pavan, Nej, Valle, Morbius, Pajot at your top 10. Pajot is somehow managing to get himself outside of the top 10 in that one, despite all the battling. Ferraris not really able to get involved in that battle that we were watching for so long. Corentin Pointu will be very disappointed with his performance, I think, but that drive-through penalty really did set him back. And Medici Biblioni, your top 15. Ecot Catalan Orban, who went for a spin at turn 1, or on lap 1, I should say, the final of the finishers. Dollimore, Van Scheppen didn't make it to the end. And Guedes, Arogliu and Nordella all didn't make it because of a disqualification there, Cam. I'm not entirely sure what that would be down to. I guess incident points would be the only thing that comes to my mind.
Yeah, either incident points or getting a penalty and then not serving it. I would guess so. For that one, that was a bit of a weird one. But I don't know if you actually noticed on the fastest laps, there was only, I think it was about 17 thousandths of a second between the 2 fastest laps of the front 2 there. So Drovosekov wasn't sort of massively fast in terms of fastest lap. He seemed to be he was a little bit more consistent there during that time. But yeah, rookie certainly getting the evening off to a good start.
He certainly is. A couple of people mentioning how these guys, or those guys, supposedly rookies, looking at the lap times and thinking, my goodness, yeah, they are very, very quick indeed. In terms of the GT4 Trophy, we're going to be having some very similarly talented drivers, of course. We'll look forward to that in a few moments' time. But yeah, a bit more to this one, I guess, Cam, because obviously different cars to select and a whole load of BOP kind of adjustments to make. The Lotus Evora has 1% less use of the restrictor, and there's a whole load of I won't go through the kilograms for the exact number of cars and whatever, because that is complicated, but yeah, it's BOP for each round, and you can choose what car, you can choose the setup for this car. Yeah, things get a lot more variable, I would say, in the next two races.
They absolutely do. You need a 75 reputation or higher to get into this one as well. So this is for, as you say, a bit some of the more experienced drivers. For this category, indeed, there's, as you say, some restrictor plates going in, and some ballast going into some of these cars to try and make it as fair as possible. It's funny that you say the Evora getting the 1% reduction in power, but also the kilos. Just looking at the lifetime, there seems to be quite a few Evoras still in the field today. But there's some other cars involved there, especially the Mercedes AMG's got quite a few. So yeah, certainly going to be a nice one as well, as we'll be jumping into the AM category, the GT4 Trophy, as you say, for their qualifying session. These guys will have a 10-minute qualifying session followed by a 20-minute race. It's slightly longer for these drivers, and I'm sure it's going to be just as exciting and close battling between them.
Yeah, as you mentioned, plenty of Evoras out here at the moment, one of which is Enzo Filippo, who's driving around at the moment. They're currently in practice, by the way, not missing anything. But yeah, celebrated his 25th birthday 2 days ago on Monday, so a belated happy birthday to him. He'll be looking to celebrate well with a GT4 win here. A number of other manufacturers as well being used, as you can see. And here he is. Philip out there, a year older than we may have last seen him on these RaceRoom streams, of course. The Frenchman driving for Virtual Drivers by TX3, a team he's only been involved with a few months, but he's certainly been driving well for them in recent weeks. And there you can see 3 Evoras straight out the gate here. Certainly seems to be maybe the stronger car to use, certainly one of the more popular ones in the gold split anyway.
Yeah, it's good to see that there's a lot of them, and I always find the BOP game funny, as obviously he's coming to, I believe, start his first lap. This will be their out laps with the 10-minute session, about a 2-minute 2 lap time I saw in the practice session. So yeah, about 5 seconds faster than the M235Is. But the Evora is certainly one of those interesting cars. When more people use it, then arguably people say that it's better than it is potentially. The BOP game in that regard is always very good, and this is the most BOP'd car, but still quite a few drivers are driving it here today, as we're seeing Grunwald here coming through this first sector, trying to link up these corners. And that's really the big thing about this track. Most of the corners are sort of multiple in a row. We just had obviously that first whole section. Then once again here, it's more of a long elongated chicane with coming here into turn 5, then into turn 6. You've got to really act it as one, because going too wide there just tightens up turn 6. Yeah,
that's exactly what Grunwald fell into the trap of doing, unfortunately, there. And so this may not be the best lap for him. However, they do get a few more opportunities than the guys in the Rookie Cup just did here in the GT4 Trophy. Grunwald, by the way, has got some astonishing statistics on the ranked races he's recently been doing, almost exclusively driving the GT4 over the last couple of weeks. And he gained 31 victories in ranked races. You did hear me right, 31. He's been driving quite a lot, and he's been winning quite a lot as well. See if he can do today, just making his way around in qualifying at the moment. That car does look a little bit kind of oversteery at the moment, but some people can kind of cope with that, and that's the fastest way around for them.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, that's the fastest way to drive for most cars. You've got to be getting the car rotated around the corner. As long as you can control that on the exits and keep that speed that you gained in the mid part of the corner, keep that on the exit and not lose it, being sideways when you're supposed to be straight. That's the difficult part, obviously, setting purple sectors straight away with the first laps coming in. Already 6 minutes left to go in this session. So once again, they're only really going to get 3 laps or so in this session. Coming out of the final corner, what is the benchmark time? It's a 2-minute 2.6 as they start to come across the line. We'll see, is that going to be him remaining on that provisional pole? It is so far with Cravey there and Williams also going, but it's actually Filippo getting up there by 0.2 of a second onto the provisional pole.
Yeah, Filippo just being able to nip Grunwald by the looks of things. Martien with a good time there as well to get up into the top 3. You can see Zabdir as well. The Lotus top 4 at the minute as well. As we go back to another one of them, Nico Sornell, who is out there for T3 by the looks of things. Out here once again. By the way, we are on the sound issues, by the way. We will hopefully get the game sound to you in a couple of moments. So sorry about that, but it'll be there in a second as we go through the chicane with Sornell and out onto the back straight as well. Once again, though, some quite big gaps to those behind. The closest car is Crivy at the moment, closest non-Lotus I'm talking about here. Crivy, the Finnish driver, 1.4 seconds away at the moment. Some really quite big gaps in this field at the moment.
Certainly are. We saw that in the M235. M235i, sorry, but we also saw a really close race as well. And the thing with qualifying is that some drivers, they can just really get in that groove and get a feel for it, especially in these slower cars, because the qualifying laps are so long and the corners themselves are so long. I find it's a lot easier to be extra tenths away compared to the faster cars that you would see potentially certain cars drive, because there's a lot more skill to keep that speed going through these corners as you go out onto another lap. But once again, look how many drivers there are around that 2-second mark. It's so close, just between 10th and even down to sort of 16th, 17th place. There's only about 3/10 covering all those drivers. So certainly the mid pack once again looking very competitive.
It is Grunwald now over the line. Where will he get to? He's a couple of attempts faster, but not quite fast enough. 19 thousandths of a second. He's going to have 2 more chances if he wants it. Or 1 more chance, I should say, but he doesn't indeed want it, so that is going to be it for Grunwald. 19 thousandths of a second is so close. Filippo just about being able to hold on to that top spot for the moment as we look at Sarah van Hipland, coming around the kink on the back straight and towards the final chicane. Best placed Porsche in this race. I'm not sure, could be the only Porsche actually in this particular race, but nice to see it performing very well inside the top 10 at the moment.
Yes, as he go way too wide, coming out of the chicane though, all over the grass and missing the final corner, really unsettling the car there. And Sarah will have just about enough time to set this lap. I don't know if that's really going to be the one, as she pulls over there to come down towards the pit lane once again, escaping there. We saw Huisman just jumping back up into 12th place, and we got Ozeta here coming out of the final corner, also in the Lotus. So certainly the Lotus is the one for this track. It seems up there in 11th place. Is he going to be making any sort of improvements now? Actually, starting lap just will have enough time to finish that lap as Cernal here coming out of the final corner, doing some decent lap times there, second times I should say. Can he get up to the pole? Yes, they can by 0.2 of a second. Nico Cernal goes to the top. Great lap time from Cernal.
T3 Motorsport driver, of course, and getting up towards the front. See if he can do another lap time here, but might not need to. Brunel is not out again here, but Filippo is, I think, possibly improving as well. In terms of others who might be able to get up towards, Ian Pfeiffer is certainly one of them in the Mercedes, but needs to find an awful lot of time to get anywhere near this man's time at the moment. So it looks like it's going to be Sodnell to take the pole position, ahead of Filippo, Grunwald, Martien and Creevy, the top 5 at the moment. Big slide once again. This Lotus does look, I'll tell you, now I know you obviously can say the oversteer is the best way to drive, the fastest way to drive I should say. I would hate this car by the looks of things. It's all over the place.
Yeah, that's if you were a driver, Ewan, of course. We need to get you in the cockpit one day, yeah, but for sure. Yeah, it's just when you have an understeery car, you just can't push anything on the front. It just wants to just obviously understeer, and it's not the the best way to go around the corners, because you physically can't get around them. Whereas with the oversteer, you're basically making the car go around the corner, then trying to hold on to that one as we're coming up towards the end of this sector 2. And I don't know, I don't think he started the lap in time to actually what his sector time is, but for sure it's actually looking quite a bit closer in this category compared to the M235I's. Quarter of a second for the top 3 and a second for the top 5 or 6 drivers, as Filippo also coming around fastest in that first sector, but he's not going to quite get to the line. So that is your session done for these drivers.
Yeah, it's Nico Sornell who's taken the pole position ahead of Enzo Filippo, Alexander Grunwald in third, Thomas Martien fourth, and the first non-Lotus Evora is Ian Pfeiffer in fifth. Ville Krievi from Finland sixth ahead of Marius Zabdir. Then it's Sandström, Ozaita and Duran, the top 10. Saravan Fipland just outside of the top 10 ahead of Timo Lino, Radik Paulasek, Udrik Heisemen, and then the final driver, Nico Frodingsdorf, making his way into the top 15 or so. But yeah, plenty of different manufacturers on show here. But the Lotus does look to be the strongest by the looks of things. But also, it's not all down towards the car, of course. We do have the strongest drivers up towards the front. Actually, as we're into the end of this session, by the way, it looks like in the very dying seconds that Filippo has actually been able to set lap time just about good enough for this pole position camp.
Did he manage to get to the line in the end? Because, yeah, the results do come up just before the end of the session. So if he did, they're fair play. We'll have to see when they come onto the grid. But that is certainly, what he needs to be doing if he wants to obviously take this race victory. 20-minute race coming up, and it looks like it's going to be very close.
It does. And we look forward to it greatly. Just 30 seconds before we get the start underway. 20 minutes race here, by the way, in the GT4 Trophy. We'll be seeing half an hour's worth of race for the GT3s a little bit later on. So, yeah, we look forward to that. We look ahead. But, of course, we've got to live in the moment a little bit here and enjoy this GT4 Trophy race first. 20 minutes around the Nurburgring to kick off the first of 4 rounds in the RaceRoom Ranked Championship 2022 Season 1. The lights will be going up on the top of your screen in a few moments' time, and we'll be getting underway. Filippo versus Sonel on the front row. A late lap from Filippo gets him the pole. Will he be able to convert that into a lead into turn number 1? They get underway. It's an all Lotus row 1 and row 2 in this awfully long run down towards turn number 1. In Piper with a good start on the outside line there in the Mercedes. He ducks to the inside to defend as they go side by side for the lead. Oh, and it's a big dive from Piper. Down the inside, clatters into almost everybody. Sonel looks like he's held on the best. Filippo's been really pushed out here, and one of the cars gone around. Creamies spins around Martien by the looks of things, who's gone around in that one, has he? I think so. A bit more of a messy start, I'm afraid. I've a real big dive on the inside there.
Manages to take the lead, actually coming out of the first sector. Somehow he's down in that third place, managing to get past the Pfeiffer once again, diving inside, pushing out. Sonel goes off the track himself, as now is Filippo from the pole position, managing to get back up into second place. Actually not, because Sonel were able to hold it there on the exit of turn number 6 down the hill. Pfeiffer goes down into 6th place as well, second into 6th place. That just shows you just been a little bit too aggressive as Grunwald goes wide in the hairpin.
Yeah, Grunwald very wide there, but he's able to get a nice exit and get away, hopefully, from the rest. Filippo's been through a rollercoaster of emotions in this first sector, it has to be said. Was down quite a long way after a couple of corners, but back up to second now. Sonel is third from second. Zabdir with possibly the best start of everybody, alongside Sandström as well, who's into the top 5. It's a nice start, a bit of a messy start, has to be said, and Martien's certainly going to be one of those really disappointed with how that got, along with Krabi as well, because he was inside the top 5 not so long ago, the Finnish driver, but now drops to 9th position and will have to make his way back through the field again.
Yes, Jamie, I'll go to see a replay there, because Martien, just so unlucky there, really on the outside, I believe, of the turn number 2. I would like to You know, it would be great if we could see again. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to be able to, as we're getting a dive here into the final corner. Loads of time gained there by Filipao coming through that final sectors. In the background, we've got Zabdir trying to get involved as well. These guys trying to break the slipstream already. They know that this is an important point in the race. Going side by side, quite a few rows deep back in the background as well, as we see Piper here on the inside. Got a Duran as well. Sandstrom trying to get involved. They're all thinking about moves here in towards turn number 1. Piper there back up into that 5th place. Sandstrom couldn't hold on.
No, couldn't quite hold on, and the top non-Lotus goes back to Ian Piper once again. Frenchman from Calais up in the north. Be very familiar to those of you watching from the UK, I'd imagine. But up into the top 5 again. Sandstrom dropping back, and you would expect this a little bit, really. This is what happens when you get really strange starts here, Cam. You get people all out of position, and then you spend the rest of the race trying to fix that order again.
Absolutely do, and they've been so aggressive there on that first lap, trying to make the position, especially Ian Piper here. He just went so aggressive on that first lap, aggressive in turn 1, turn 2, turn 3. To be fair, got up into that 2nd place, but then lost it all in turn 5 and 6. Now a lap later, down into this 5th place, but he's got Sandstrom all over the back rings again. Side-by-side battle here for turn for position number 2. Cernal trying to put Filippo off the line up towards the Schumacher crest. You can see just a tiny dab of the brakes there through the apexes and getting the slipstream. Is he going to go left? Is he going to go right? He's going to go to the right hand side. This is actually a nice corner to go all the way around the outside. If he can hold it, Filippo though is just going to push him out. Yeah,
just pushing him out nicely there, and holds on to 2nd place. Got to be careful, these two, because they don't want to battle so hard that they let Grunwald get away with this race win. I think the Austrian knows that there's an opportunity to be had here, drifting away a little bit to try and break the slipstream already on that back straight. Never mind at the front straight where you're normally used to seeing it. Doing it early on the back straight as well, as they go through the final fast chicane, of course, tipping their wheels onto the outside, onto the grass, but make their way through the final corner now and over the start-finish line again. Grunwald once again trying to break that slipstream, but at 4 tenths, half a second, there's no way he's going to be able to deny them the slipstream.
No, he can't. They're just too close there. They're already in range as we come down the front stretch once again. Seeing all these slipstream drivers here in the background weaving, trying to get a bit of a look as a Palachek here, really trying to get into this top 10. He's got a few drivers right ahead of him if he can work his way up. Another driver in the Mercedes AMG here working his way up there, but not quite enough at this moment.
Yes, not quite for the moment, as Huisman is just above, or just ahead, I should say, of Pulasek. Huisman was one of the drivers in the Bathurst 2-hour broadcasted here on RaceRoom on Friday. He put in a decent performance. I think he was driving a BMW that day as well, actually. I can't quite remember. But I think he was. I heard it reliably informed as well from the YouTube chat on the day. He was quite a young driver as well, maybe a prospect for the future, but seemingly, I'm pretty sure he was driven a BMW back then, wasn't he? Pretty sure.
I think so as well, which is good because I'm
maybe a coincidence.
Yeah, a bit of a BMW fanboy as well. But certainly some drivers do sort of pick a manufacturer in that regard, because the cars will have a sort of a certain feeling that maybe the driver likes, or maybe it's just the brand. If the cars, the BOP, they are supposed to be close enough to race, which it does look like. We've got quite a few, about 5 manufacturers in the top 5, 6 in the top 12. So certainly loads of different cars there. And if you're, just feeling a certain manufacturer that day, certainly good. But also, if he's a younger driver, it'd be good to see what he can do in the future.
It certainly will. Yeah, I do love the amount of GT4s on RaceRoom here. It's probably the widest selection you get in anywhere in sim racing, to be honest. I mean, it was a 7 in this race with the KTM down in 18th as well. Farias braving it out with that one. Don't think it's the most popular car, most popular choice on this particular occasion, but I can't think of a wider ranging choice anywhere else in sim racing at the moment. Grunwald, though, on the defensive at the moment into turn number 1. Filippo has done a very good job to close in over this last lap. He's actually dropped Sonel in the process, but they're all about to be involved again here, because the battle is certainly on for this race lead, and this can bring loads of cars into play with how close this field still is.
And it really is getting close now. Filippo trying to get back from that pole position, lost out in sector 1, and is now all over the back of Grunwald. You saw in the first couple of laps, Grunwald really trying to pull away, but he hasn't been able to do so. Filippo's got that speed, which he did in the last dying seconds. I think he probably got it literally just in the final second of the session, managed to get himself towards the line for that pole position. But now it's all about this race. And Grimveld taking a bit of a tighter line there into turn 6. That's going to hinder his run a little bit down the hill here. But obviously the way you exit the corner manages to hold on with that track position. Filippo really starting to push there. Grimveld once again going a bit too deep and just missing the apex.
Yeah, there was a small opening there, but Filippo deciding not to dive down the inside rather sensibly. Now up through the Schumacher S and towards well, not the final chicane and all that, but certainly a couple of corners before we set ourselves up for the back straight. You can see just in the mirror on the left hand side there, this man, Nico Sodnell, looking every which way to try and make his way through as well. Filippo has found himself in a very awkward situation now because he will want the lead, but he wants to hold on to second, and he can't do both of those things at the same time.
And just remember, this is also a championship that you have to think about. It's only 4 races, but certainly don't want to be throwing it away with a silly move up the inside of a fast corner like this one. As look at that's a nice camera, just seeing how close they get now with Cernal trying to get involved with this battle for the lead. And it seems like Grimveld is possibly the slowest of the top 3 at this moment in time, but he is under the most pressure, missing a few apexes on that previous lap we saw, and is now having to defend all the way towards the pit wall as we come down this front straight. Is Filippo going to be able to dive it down the inside? It's a bit of a kink to the right hand side before we get towards his braking zone. Instead, he's going to go to the outside. Grimveld, is he going to be able to make it to the apex this time around? Is Filippo going to get the switchback coming up to turn 2?
We'll see. Outside line for 2 and 3 though is not ideal, although if he can just cut back to the inside for 3 here, he will be in the money. There he goes. Oh, can't quite get his nose down the inside, but Sonnell might. He's going to give it a go and does barge his way alongside. Filippo just has to defend into 4 and then maybe defend again in a few moments' time as Sonnell even goes on the AstroTurf to try and find a little bit of space down the inside. He's got a very nice exit, and into the next couple of corners they go, still side by side into the 4 curve. Now this is going to allow Grimveld to really get away. Another cutback from Sonnell. Looks like Filippo has finally held on there, and the gap only reaches out to half a second, but you can see there how easily don't say how easy it would be for Grimveld to get away, but if they battle, then all he's got to do is drive. However, there is contact. Sonnell does make his way through. Filippo will be unhappy about that because there was definitely contact there.
Yeah, we didn't quite see it from that angle. When they turned into the corner, I thought, oh, they're a bit close. And certainly Filippo just got just a bit of a nudge out of the way. Cernal really getting the nose of his car down the inside there into the hairpin because it's so banked to really hold you down towards the apex, managing to get up into that second place. The issue is they've dropped quite a few tenths now. It's 7 tenths to Grunwald, and he needs to really start chasing him down as we're getting towards the halfway point in this 20-minute race. And also that has really brought Zabdir back in for a podium shout now, with Filippo dropping back.
Yeah, well, we'll see if it's dropping back for good or if he's able to close back in again, because Filippo did actually look a bit stronger than everybody there a couple of moments ago. Sonnell and him battled for a couple of laps and Grimveld got away, but he was able to close up much quicker than the German was. So let's see if he can manage that again and get back onto this train for the lead. Although 8 tenths of a second now, this is the best chance Grimveld has had all day long at getting away. We're just over half distance now in this race, just over 9 minutes to go in the first round of the GT4 Trophy, part of the RaceRoom Ranked Championship for 2021 season 1. And of course, this is the gold split as well. The best drivers in these GT4 cars on show right now. Grimveld is trying to get away, but he's being pegged back once again.
He certainly is. Just having some flashback moments there. You say it's 2021. Just remembering the dark days there here in 2022, getting this new season underway, as you say, in the GT4 categories, and the battles are going down. We've got Sandstrom trying to get back here on Pfeiffer. We saw him so aggressive on that first lap, but once he got back up into this 5th place, we haven't really seen him too much, but Sandstrom, a bit of a bump there, coming out now through sector 2, and he's starting to get really close all the way towards the hairpin. Is he going to be able to dive down the inside? I don't think he's going to be close enough there, but certainly Pfeiffer, he was aggressive on that first lap, but is starting to now come back against him.
Yeah, looks like it. He's obviously careered into turn 1 on that first lap, has to be said. But fortunately, everybody, or just about everybody, got away with it. Unfortunately, Martien didn't. He's down to 16th now, making his way back through the field once again. Yeah, Pfeiffer once again coming under a lot of pressure. Now, 4 years into kind of racing in the big leagues now, Pfeiffer becoming more and more experienced. And as I mentioned, has 7 wins already in ranked races around this circuit in this car. Well, not in this car, but in this category. And we can only presume he's been practicing in the Mercedes as well. Yeah, already plenty of wins to his name. However, it's certainly clear to me anyway that the top 4 are getting away more and more.
Yeah, they just are pulling a bit of a gap there in those Lotus Saboras, but then we're saying the 2 Mercedes just behind them. We'll have to see how that one works out in the old BOP. Is it because the car's faster? Is it because they're fast? This is an open setup league as well, so they are able to change the setup. Some drivers obviously don't necessarily have a clue where to start with the setups. Other drivers have a bit of a feel for it, so that can always change things in their favour. As we're coming back to Villacrevi there, he was up here, was about sort of 5th, 6th place in qualifying from memory, but now starting to come back after a couple of issues there on the first lap, trying to get himself further inside this top 15. Got 2 BMWs just ahead of him with Deacon and Frunningsdorf as well just ahead of him, so certainly opportunities there coming through turn 3, thinking about it but not close enough, although 2 BMWs slide a bit wide. This could open the door.
Yeah, both of those BMWs almost simultaneously going wide there, and Crevy, you'd expect him to be able to make his way through now, because he certainly is a stronger, more fancied, certainly at the start of the day, looking to try and maybe get down the inside, but not going to be able to do it there. Will make his way around the full curve and maybe into the Dunlop hairpin at the bottom of the Nurburgring GP layout. He might be able to make a move, but doesn't look like it. And there you can see Martien just in the background as well, going to be trying to make a move. Sabox Diak just up in front there from Hungary, trying to defend, but that BMW once again visibly sliding through the Mercedes arena. Surprisingly, they both held on to the place, but it was almost remarkable the kind of simultaneous sliding that they both did and went way off course.
Yeah, that just shows when you're so close to the car behind, you're almost, subconsciously following them, quite literally. We see it multiple times when you're sort of in a train of cars, when one goes wide, they all go wide, and although not that time around, actually. We saw the leading BMW there, Freudensorf, going a bit too wide, but back to a 3-way battle towards the front. Filippo down into this 3rd place, trying to get back up once again. He's caught back up to Cernal. Cernal pushed him wide a couple of laps ago, if you remember, and this could be a bit of payback towards turn 1.
Yeah, will there be a dive? He's certainly close enough. He's going to go for the outside line by the looks of things. Gives him the inside for the next 2 corners, which might be why he's gone for it, but door rubbing just ever so slightly out of turn number 1. Inside line. Oh, there's more contact between the 2, and they're going to be getting more and more frustrated with each other, you'd imagine, as well, into the Mercedes arena. Big dive there from Filippo, making sure of that one, but Sono once again able to make a cutback and make his way back through again. Tension's certainly starting to rise.
The way that they both just darted to the inside of turn 3 as well, it's so open, the apex is so far to the left hand side, and they both managed to keep on the track there just about, but Filippo going too deep into that one and really trying to get back this position. As you say, maybe sensing some frustration between these 2 drivers, but with it being a championship, even just a 4-round championship, you don't want to be having too many major incidents, but for sure, be aggressive on each other. Certainly, what we like to see is been reason there. Don't go to wide. That kid's put up a jump to go outside, just shoot back the rest. That's a huge move if he can hold it all the way around the outside, which I think he's going to manage to do. Sono's got disappointed with himself down into P3.
Yeah, very, very impressive move around the outside there. I know there was a mistake from Sono which allowed that to really happen for Filippo, but he still has to convert around the outside there, and that's exactly what he managed into 2nd position. And now we will be chasing down Grunwald. 2 laps to go at the line. Once again, I said a little bit earlier, he does look to be the quickest out of the 3 of them, so I would not count against him being there for the final lap and maybe being able to make a move. But as I said, he is running out of laps really in this race.
Yeah, it is one of those things. These guys battling is pretty much confirming Grunwald as the winner. So they need to decide, do they want to battle between each other, or do they want to battle for the lead, as the laps, as you say, are starting to count down. Looks like we're going to get about 2 laps or so left in this race. Yeah, looks like it's going to be 2 laps that they will get. So that's not going to be too long for them as they go back to this battle. Looks like it's changed around a little bit. Frolingsdorf has dropped down. Martin has got back past. Remember, Martin's spinning at turn number 2 on the first lap, and he's managed to get his way back up into 15th as we speak.
It certainly has. That was Huysman on the inside of Ozakta by the looks of things. Tried to hold on to a top 10 position. A big dive from Gomez, that is, in the Lotus. There it is, down the inside he goes, trying to make his way through, and does into the Mercedes arena there. By the way, a couple of people are asking a little bit about the rating and what the last what you need as a rating as a cut-off to get into the bronze split, which is of course the lowest of the 3 that are running right now in all 3 of the categories that we have here in this championship. You need 1665 to get into the bronze category for the GT4 Trophy races. So there you go. You can match that up at home at the moment. Meanwhile, this battle for what is what at this point 14th, I think. This train goes on for. Continues on. Martin on the back of Diak at the front of it. Plenty of stuff going on in the midfield once again. That's, I guess, the difference between this race and the last one, is we've had stuff going on like this in the background as well as a leading battle in this race.
Oh, wow, Williams, huge send down the inside there, manages to get himself up into 18th place. That was a massive send, really. I didn't think he was going to be able to make that one stick, but he did just about, as Frolingsdorf here trying to get back up a few places. Just noticed Villacravi there up into 13th place. Also a huge dive just ahead. Martin go up into 14th place ahead of Deek, and out onto the back straight we go. 2 places there already on this lap, as once again Williams dives it down the inside. This is the lap of dives through some of these drivers. Already 3 of them we've seen on this lap.
Yeah, Williams actually has the 6th best rating of anybody on this field here, but hasn't done a ranked race for over 3 weeks at this point. So he's certainly been a little bit, well, I don't say inexperienced, or out of practice, maybe not even that. But who knows? He's certainly making the dives at the moment. 18th only for him at the moment, though, and trying to make his way through at the moment on Frolingsdorf just up in front of him in that BMW. But they come over the line with 1 minute to go. It'll be the final lap. It looks like those 3 for the lead, separated by about half a second each. Has Filippo got enough in the tank? Has he got enough time even to make that move, make even an attempt at a move in the last lap?
We'll have to find out, but I think Huysman there dropping down a position to Imola, just getting up past as well. So the battles continue between these drivers up and down the field, which is what we like to see. Maybe the midfield is sometimes the most interesting place in these races, with just how competitive it is. We saw in the race, in the qualifying I should say, just a couple of tenths really separating, about 7 drivers in the middle of the field. But back to the front, Grunwald is holding on to this, with Filippo in 2nd and Sunil in that 3rd place. They've dropped Zabdir, but for now we'll have to see how that one comes with just 5 seconds left in the race.
Yeah, not long at all, only half a second as well between the 2 leaders. Where is the opportunity as well? Even if he was on the back of Grunwald at this point, where would be the opportunity you'd really want to go through? Because there really aren't many from here until the end. Out of turn 12 they go, and Alexander Grunwald looks like he's going to another victory. He's got so many in the last few weeks in ranked competition here on RaceRoom, but in the RaceRoom Ranked Championship for 2022, looks like he is going to take the first race win of the season. Through the final chicane he goes, into the final corner. Is Filippo close enough? Absolutely no way. He dives it on the brakes. He's almost pushing the rear bumper of Grunwald over the line, but he's not going to get there. It's going to be Alexander Grunwald who takes the opening race of the RaceRoom Ranked Championship 2022 Season 1 in the GT4s. Filippo and Sonel not quite able to get there. Those 3 are going to be a nightmare as the season goes along, because I have a feeling they're going to be neck and neck over the line for all 4 races.
They certainly are. As there's been some big changes down the back. Imola's dropped all the way down. Martian has dropped all the way down as well. There's been huge things happening there. They're in 20th and 21st place as the drivers come across the line. Oh yeah, there's been huge contact. Look at that. There's 2 cars sat on the exit. The blue one's Martian, and I guess the other one is Imola, with me guessing. So Solches is getting up there into 20th place as the 2 drivers of Imola and Martin. They must have had a bit of contact between themselves coming through there, or maybe they caught one crashed and the other caught into a bit of a domino effect.
Yeah, well, I don't think we're going to find out, fortunately, but Yeah, both of them look to be stuck as well. I'm not entirely sure if they're so damaged they can no longer continue any further. But it looks like, yeah, they're out on the final lap, in the final corners. But there it is. Alexander Grunberg takes the first win of the season. The fastest lap, though, goes to Filippo, who ends up in second. Nico Sotnell rounds up the top three ahead of the Polish driver Zabadir in fourth and Ian Pfeiffer in fifth. Sandstrom, Lino van Hippeland, Duran and Ozeta round out your top 10. There's Villa Krievi and Huiseman in 12th. Diak 13th ahead of Gomez and Protlingsdorf, your top 15. Chris Williams ends up in 16th ahead of Omelas. Kanal, Pulasek, Sotesh, the final driver to get to the line on the lead lap. Farados in the only KTM gets to the line in 21st. Martian and Imola crash on the final lap by the looks of things. So that is very unfortunate, but I've no idea what could have happened there. Those cars weren't exactly in strange positions, but you don't normally see that much damage at that point of the circuit because the barriers are so far away but they must have hit each other.
Yeah, I'm guessing someone just did a huge send into that corner on the final lap. That's really the last major overtaking opportunity. You can overtake into the final corner. We saw Filippo try it, but it is a bit of a risky one there. And of course, it didn't work out for those drivers, and they're going to drop themselves down. That is quite a few points lost for them as well, which is not what you want to be seeing for those drivers, unfortunately, for the championship. But now it is time for the GT3, of course, and that is going to be a big battle indeed, with some even bigger names coming into this one.
Yeah, it is indeed the GT3 Pro Series coming up. You need 80 reputation to get into this championship. And of course, open setups as well for a 30-minute race coming up here. But just, I guess, one last word on the GT4s, Cam. What a selection we saw. We saw every manufacturer involved, as I said, during the race. Probably the best. I don't know if there's any probably about it. It definitely is the best selection of GT4s out there in sim racing at the moment. And we made use of all of them in that one. Obviously, the Lotus was mobbing the front, but there were plenty of battles into manufacturer ones going on a little bit further down.
Yeah, it really is. And GT4 is such a nice speed of the car as well. It's still slow enough that it's quite a good entry point for drivers trying to get into GT cars, but also it's not too fast that it sort of makes the track look small, if you understand what I mean. There's still loads of time on the straights and things like that for slipstream, and it seems to work out really well for some racing. I'm sure that championship, but you just saw how close the top three were, and over the next three races of the season, in Spa, Zandvoort and Watkins Glen, I think we're going to be looking at some great racing in the AM class. So hopefully that continues, because as you say, it seems to be that is a really nice class, and despite all of the sort of different manufacturers, they seem to be fairly close as well.
They do indeed, which is it's good to see. Speaking of manufacturers and who's got what, let's have a quick look at the BOP for the GT3s before we go into this one. I won't bore you with all the details, but the Audi, the Bentley Evo version, the Corvette, Ferrari and both versions of the Mercedes have a little bit less power, and quite a lot of those cars, including some others who have full power, also have a bit of weight, the most of which goes to the Ferrari, 15 kilograms and 1% less power. For them, so quite a big hit there, although I do still see a fair amount on the grid here for this one. Balázs Nagy has got one of those, the Hungarian driver, 9 ranked wins in the GT3 category in the last couple of weeks at this Nurburgring circuit. Who else have we got in the Ferrari? We've also got Wittvoet, Diner, Mosin, Bakker. Loads of different drivers in the order today, and loads of different Ferraris out there as well. But once again, a nice mix going into this GT3 race. Not that the last two races were contested by lower ranking drivers at all. We saw some real big names contesting them. The Pro category, the GT3 Pro Series does have the best drivers within it. You need 1800 rating or better to be able to get into even the bronze version of this split of this category, I should say. So. Yes, it's very, very hotly contested indeed, and it's going to be good.
Yeah, it certainly is, and it's good to see, as you say, some of the bigger names coming out in this one, but also just some familiar names. Quite a lot of these drivers raced in that Bathurst race on Friday as well. The 2 hours of Bathurst that we use as sort of promotional event for the Ranked Championships. And here we are in the qualifying session, 3 minutes down already, just a 10-minute qualifying session. It will be a 30-minute race, though, for these guys, so slightly longer than we have seen before, but they're already onto their flying laps, and you can just see the traffic as well. Getting a clean lap is going to be difficult with not many laps indeed, as we're seeing. Attila Dinar here coming up 4th place. It says that he is purple in Sector 1. Let's see how that continues through Sector 2.
Tell you what I have enjoyed here this afternoon about this is the fact that the cars have been progressively getting faster. So you don't suddenly tune into a race and think, oh god, this is slow, because we just get progressively getting a little bit quicker. And now you can really see the difference as we use the GT3s. We're down well below kind of 15 seconds quicker, 15-20 seconds quicker than we were going earlier with the BMWs in the Rookie Cup. So yeah, very nice to see indeed. As we're on board with Attila Dinar, one of the DTM liveries or versions of the Ferrari, I guess you could say, over the line for him. It's a 150.0, 150.2 I should say, and he goes to the top for the moment. But let's see how it goes along here. Expecting another close qualifying session, although it looks like Dinar has done a very good job here. 7 tenths off the mark.
It's so funny that we see in all 3 categories, there's sort of like one driver who's really pulled away. Though actually, Felipe, they're getting a bit closer there, within 7 tenths now. So yeah, not quite so close for those guys. But just look at the gaps behind. 3-4 tenths covering the next really 6-7 drivers even down to Mackenberg there in P8. So close indeed as Vermeulen. Axel Vermeulen coming around the corner, purple Sector 1 and Sector 2. Can he get himself up in this Sector 3? Can he hold it towards the line? Yes, he can, by 0.3 of a second into the 51s, 51.899.
Yeah, the first 51 of the day goes to Vermeulen, but I have a feeling it won't be the last. We're still 5 minutes to go. Now, here is Sven Mackenberg in the Corvette. Half of the, well, I don't actually know if it's half, but certainly one of the Mackenberg brothers we have in this race. And I'd like you to cast your mind back a little bit further to the Daytona 2.4 hours. We were both on this race. It was a great race between Kasperink and Mackenberg. We saw Sven Mackenberg here going for the lead. This was actually the moment that decided the race. Unfortunately, there was contact in the end. However, it was a very dramatic race, one that went down to the final minutes, as you can see.
Yeah, certainly did, but a bit of contact between the two. Mackenberg just pushing Kasperink all the way round in turn 1. But the important point here, you see he waited up and Kasperink was allowed back to the lead. Unfortunately, that just sort of spoiled that battle on that day, but just showing the sportsmanship of Kasperink there. To not just run away with it, not just run away with the lead, but what lap time can he do? Currently in that 12th place at the moment. Can he jump up into 5th place? He goes 8.5 tenths off the pole position.
Yeah, the top non-Ferrari for the moment. There's Sven Mackenberg racing alongside his brother Marvin Mackenberg, who won the GT3 version of the Daytona 2.4 hour, the GT3 category of the 2.4 hour we had back in January. Those two were in different categories on that occasion, but will be racing for the same prize here today. A number of recognisable names as well. If you were tuned in with us on Friday, we've got Pavel Mukonin, who was in that race as well. The Russian is with us at the moment. Kirill Kovikov, another Russian, 5th in that race on Friday. He's 9th in this order at the moment. We've also, I can see Akim in the Mercedes. He was driving at the time as well. He's down in 20th at the moment. Markovsky as well. He's 14th in this session at the moment. So there's a number of recognisable faces if you were with us a few days ago.
Absolutely, and something that is a bit recognisable is the top 4 all in the Ferraris. You were just mentioning they had the strongest BOP, but still they're up in the top 4. And we saw Mosin there getting up into 3rd place. Vitford just behind as well in that 4th place. But once again, this mid-pack is so close, all the way down in this pro category. In the gold server, there's a silver and a bronze server going on at the same time. It's like a 2nd and 3rd split. So even if you don't get yourself into this top split, there's still some competitive racing as we're on board with Gail Gortner coming into... currently coming into the hairpin, but in 10th place, I should say. A little bit down in that Sector 1, though, so he's got some time to find.
He certainly has, but he's going to struggle to do so in that Ferrari, in that BMW, I should say, by the looks of things, using the M6, thankfully, rather than the M4, which I'm not a fan of, as Cam knows very well. So that's a relief. But no, yeah, 8th, 9th and 10th for the BMWs at the moment, as the Mackenberg brothers get very close to each other once more, with Marvin making his way up to 6th in that McLaren there. This is wonderful to see, this McLaren on the grid, by the way. It's not the most modern McLaren anymore, is it? But it's still my favourite, I have to say. Good to see it. 6th and 7th for this car at the minute as well.
Certainly indeed. As we come through this corner of turn 3, quite an important one because it opens up turn 4 onto a little bit of a back straight. What can Mackenberg do coming out to the end of sector 1? He's just been pushed down into that 8th place. There's Sokovikov there making some improvements, and it looks like he's just not quite working it through this sector at this moment in time, but he has got some traffic ahead, and you can use that to your advantage actually as a bit of a pointer to sort of see what the guy ahead is doing. But he's also a bit down in sector 1.
Yeah, you also don't want them to get in the way, though. That's the danger you do take with that one. Best performing non-Ferrari at the moment is now Max Pfeiffer, who is not related to Ian Pfeiffer. I'm imagining there's different spelling of the name there from the last race. But both of those were in the Mercedes, of course, as Max is at the moment. And yeah, we'll see how he does. He's got the best rating of anybody in this session, by the way, as it just comes to a close now. We'll see if there are any late jumpers here with that time. It looks like Axel Vermeulen's early time has held out here. I said it was not going to be the last 51, but it looks like it actually is going to be.
Yeah, certainly is. I think that's a bit of change of position. I think Mosen got back up into 3rd place there as this the result screen comes up just a few seconds before the session officially ends, and there can always be some improvements as we have seen. I think Marvin Mackenberg there getting up into 6th place, and I think there's someone else slightly further down, maybe Felipe, getting up into that top 10 as Sokovikov there in 8th place as well as the lap times come in. So yeah, and I think it's built up for, once again, a very close battle. So many drivers there. You see 52.7s really down to sort of the low 53s. That midfield, once again, is going to be so close, and the battles are going to go on during that 30-minute race.
Yeah, I think Bowser's Nudge might have just jumped up into the top 10 as well to make another Ferrari inside the top 10 there. Hungarian with a lot of wins in the last few weeks in this category. But it looks like we are getting ready, of course, to go racing once again. The final race of the day, half an hour on this occasion, in the first round of 4 in the RaceRoom Ranked Championship 2022 here for Season 1. We'll see who's going to come out on top in this one, because it's going to be a very interesting race. But I just wonder how different is it going to be to the GT4 and BMW race. I think it's going to be more comparable to the GT4 one we just saw, more than the BMWs.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really great race between these guys. Just a couple more to get themselves onto the grid. The thing is, with the 30-minute race, you have a little bit longer to work in your battles, though. So let's see how this one goes. And hopefully no contact in the first sector again.
Absolutely. It was a little bit more of a messy start in the GT4s compared to the BMW M235i Cup. But let's see how the GT3s go as the red lights come on here at the Nurburgring. Vermeulen versus Dunner at the front of the field in the GT3 Pro Series. We're underway at the Nurburgring. It's not a great start from Vermeulen by the looks of things. Dropping back already. Mosin gets ahead of Diner as well for second position. Vermeulen coming under a lot of pressure, but will hold on by the looks of things as a big dive. Oh my goodness me. It's a huge dive from Felipe from down in about 10th position. He's outbroken himself. He's hit, who's he hit most in by the looks of things into turn number 1. That is a real shame to see. It looks like Felipe has also dropped down the order massively after that as well. Late braking and off the road again. Diner there. A poor start from second position on the grid for him. He's dropped way down as well.
Yeah, down into that 22nd place. Mosin also down towards the back. Felipe, all of them. But yeah, that was just a huge send. Way too late on the brakes from Felipe there in towards turn number 1. He went past so many drivers. We had someone else off there, actually, in the background. I think that's Mukonin going off wide. So many little battles and crashes going on here in this first sector of the lap as Vermeulen is holding on at the moment. Vitva up into second place and Pfeffer there getting up into 3rd.
Yeah, great start from Max Pfeiffer there by the looks of things, and through the Michael Schumacher S we go. Vermeulen with a great start here. TX3 having a really good day by the looks of things in terms of their drivers. Vitvote is the closest to him at the moment, but doesn't seem to be offering too much of a challenge. Marcus Naz just made a great start there into 4th place for the Hungarian. There you can see Georg Ortner just in the background with Sokovikov not too far behind in the 2 BMWs, 8th and 9th for them at the moment as they apply the pressure to Sven Mackenberg there in the Corvette into the fast left-right chicane. They go again. And into the final corner as well. Things staying very close, especially in this midfield. It's been a recurring theme, actually, from these races. But this one looking like the leaders might be a little bit more spread out, particularly due to that chaos of the first few corners. Some of the big names like Mosin, Felipe, Dane, Mokonin, all of these guys could be well within inside the top 10, but they're all outside the top 20.
Always we're getting a Sokovikov there. Huge dive down the inside. Just backs out of though in the end. Ortner holds on to that one, but that's actually going to let Kado come up the inside of turn number 2. So Sokovikov actually loses a place there. Might lose another, although... actually, that's going to be a huge spin for the Japanese driver of Takazawa in there in 13th place. Goes down all the way to 19th place. He's going to drop even further behind. Just going too much on the throttle on the curb on the exit of turn 2.
Yeah, going for a spin, much like we saw Orban do in the opening race of the day in the BMW Cup. It was a very similar spin, only this time on lap 2, as the front drivers make their way down towards the hairpin once again. We saw single file up the front, and this Mercedes of Mike Pfeiffer at the moment, the best of the non-Ferraris. It's a Ferrari 1-2 at the minute, although Wittfeld not exactly getting away too quickly compared to this car. With the best rating, by the way, not only of just this race, but of anyone we've seen on our screens here today. Very good driver, but will he be able to mix it up with these Ferraris? It does seem like he's had a bit of a disadvantage, at least at the Nurburgring. Yeah,
maybe. He's got himself into a good position, though. And with the way the gaps are going behind, he should be able to really hold on to this third place if he puts in some consistent lap times towards the front, trying to get down on Vitvo just ahead of him, though. So, to be honest, I think he's really going to be able to battle for this one. It's always difficult to overcome, a 4-car lockout from the Ferraris in qualifying, but it does seem like he's able to come back a little bit in the race as we go down to Sokovikov. Hopefully he can get his braking right into towards turn number 1 this time, but he does need to try and get that place back from Kado just ahead of him with not too far behind either. Is he going to send it? Is he going to think about a dive? He's looking towards the inside once again, but this time not diving it.
Not deciding to go forward under brakes as Sebastian Rie gets very close to the back of him as well into turn number 1. Rie's a very good driver indeed as well. One of those to watch certainly in this race. Outside the top 10 at the moment. He was at the Daytona 2.4 hour, I seem to remember as well. Don't think he won the category, but because I can remember who won. But yeah, he's at the moment just outside the top 10, looking to try and make a move on this BMW, but not able to. There's certainly a big train forming. It's from about this man here, Marvin Mackenberg, I should say, into the hairpin. It's all getting very close behind him. We're only 5 minutes into this race, but this train is certainly starting to form.
Random fact of the day, the 2 Mackenberg brothers in 2 different chassis, which is always quite an interesting one, which does just show that it's not just about the speed, it's also about the personal preference of the cars. And we've seen here from Marvin, he's got the 2 Chevrolets, the 2 Callaway Corvettes behind as he come out on towards this back straight. He's got a bit of a gap ahead of him, so certainly holding up this bit of a 4-car train as we come out on towards the back straight once more. Who is going to be able to get the run to even send it into the far chicane? I don't think we've actually seen a proper overtake here just yet because it is so difficult, apart from, I think, the crash on the last lap of the GT4 race involving Martin.
Yeah, we're presuming it was a crash anyway. We didn't see what happened, of course, but we're presuming that was the case as Georg Ortner makes his way out of the final corner there into the front straight, but actually bumped Mackenberg along a little bit to aid in his defence almost. And Gislo had to keep an eye on his mirrors there. Down the inside from Cadieux. My goodness, he's about to pop them down on the right hand side. You see the mirrors there, the flash of the Corvette in the rearview mirror, and once again being hounded here is the Italian. So this is very, very aggressive now from Cadieux. I thought he was far too far back to be making a move there, but turn 1 is such a long braking zone, it kind of offers the opportunity for anybody to have a go.
Absolutely, these GT3 cars obviously, good on the brakes. ABS but they are still fairly long braking zones because of the ABS as well. You can really just slam that braking pedal and just send it towards the apex and hope that you stop in time. You can see some massive dives in the background. We see Sokovikov, I think, just going a tiny bit wide, but Spicy Rain not able to get past just yet. But Sokovikov there losing a few car lengths as we come down the hill once more. But someone who hasn't lost a bit of time is a bit of side by side action. We've got Johnny here with Dinner just trying to get back up past. Dinner obviously dropping down in that first corner contact and able to get back up from that point with Felipe hitting him that time around. But Johnny here having to defend now from Mosin as we come up the hill.
Yeah, try it. Obviously, we know the score here between these two Ferraris. Down the inside of turn 11 is a brave one, and he's just barged his way through there. Has absolutely no time to waste. Around the outside for the second ball. It looks like still side by side. Christoph Yoni actually giving him a hard time, and just squeezing him as well on the straight. But the Ferrari gonna have to stay behind by the looks of things. It is important for Dino and Mosin that they get through as quickly as possible, but they're going to be glad that this is the longest race of the day because they have as much time to pick this one up, or more time to pick this one up than some of the others who had issues earlier on in the races did, as Max Pfeiffer now heads to the outside line, although can't quite make the move stick, very close.
And it just shows that Mercedes can battle the Ferraris towards the front. He's trying to get a bit of a run here out of turn 2, doing a bit of the opposite line, but not able to get past just yet. But Fitvode just struggling to hold on to this second place at this moment. Pfeiffer getting really close behind him, losing a bit of time there through sector 1 though as you come towards turn 5 and 6. This is a really important chicane. Really, you can lose some time here, or you can get a bit of a run down towards the hairpin, and it looks like he's actually done a bit of a different line. It's quite interesting. There's some people choosing to take so much speed through turn 5 that they have to stick tight in turn 6, but some people doing the other way around where they're trying to get a bit of a better run out of turn 6 with a bit of a wider line, but both sort of similar distance apart as we come up the hill once more.
Yeah, each to their own, really. I think, yeah, it's difficult to know what to do. Oh my goodness, that's a slide from Pfeiffer. He gathers it up, sparks flying and dust going everywhere, but he's just about keeping it on the straight and narrow. That was a very big save. He's lost time, understandably, but it's better than being in the wall.
It certainly is. You don't want to be in the wall. As you mentioned, in these sprint race formats, even 30 minutes for these guys is not that long, and it really isn't enough to make back any sort of positions. You see a Mosin Dinner, they're still down into 16th place. They're not really going to be able to challenge the top spots by the end of the race, just because of losing that time in the first part of the lap. So especially going in the wall, having a bit of a spin is not what you want to do, as Mackenberg here is having to defend still from these guys behind him as we're getting really close there. It's so close between these drivers, almost touching, as now as I think Ortner in the background trying to get side by side down the front straight.
Yeah, trying to maybe make a move. Everybody's so close to each other here. They're all in diving distance almost. Ortner certainly the closest though, and decided to back out of it on that occasion. A little bit more measured response from him compared to some of the others that we've seen so far in this race. Moving on, 10 minutes complete, 20 minutes still remaining in this one. Through the Mercedes arena, Ortner still applying that pressure to Mackenberg, Gisler and the other Mackenberg up front in this field. But this McLaren does seem to be fairly difficult to overtake by the looks of things over the last few moments. You'd think if it was easy, then Gisler would have made it by now. But for some reason, he's fast in all the right areas, although not fast, quite as fast as some of the others overall.
Interesting to be running McLaren. I think there's only 2 McLarens in the whole field, and just in other GT3 races that we've had broadcast over the last few months, has not necessarily been the most popular, but certainly up there in 5th place is certainly working out for him. And often, I'm not sure exactly how it is on RaceRoom, but I know on other simulations it's generally one of the faster cars in a straight line. Obviously, we are talking very small amounts between the GT3 cars, but certainly something to keep in mind as we actually get a huge strain starting to form behind, as this train really now goes down to sort of 11th, 12th place.
Yeah, all the way back to Victor Straitmans at the moment in the AlphaTauri livery Ferrari, a livery that Lewis McGlade tried to convince me I didn't like on Friday, but I do. so you can have that. You'll be hearing from him, by the way, in a couple of weeks' time. He'll be on with Cameron for the second round of this championship in a couple of weeks' time. You'll be glad to hear the end of me.
That was weird. You called me by my full name.
I did, yeah. It meant to sound weird, so I did. Anyway, on to the front straight. 18 minutes to go in this one, and Max Pfeiffer's not giving up on that second place by the looks of things. Pitfeld under a lot of pressure, and this time it was more decisive from the German, and he makes his way through round the outside through the second part, but he didn't really need to. He wasn't even side by side anymore. It was a bigger, more decisive, more aggressive dive on that occasion, and it does deserve the second place that he now has.
Yeah, he tried it last lap, or a couple of laps ago, might have been, but he's now got himself up into that second place and needs to try and pull away. Vermeulen, he's off. He's got 4-second lead. I don't think they're going to be able to catch that in the 18 minutes left in this race, judging by the consistency so far. But now it's down to Luciano Wittwert, the Dutch driver, to try and come back at him. And he's done actually well, to be honest, Pfeiffer there, getting up into that second place. Always that's possibly so close to a bit of contact in the hairpin. But yeah, Pfeiffer just showing you that it's not just about the qualifying, but also about the race pace, getting up there into that second place.
Yeah, lots of sparks flying. It seems to be a Mercedes thing, though, doesn't it? The only car really kicking up the sparks like this one is the Mercedes. You see there through the Schumacher S that none of the other cars are really doing it. So yeah, it's a bit weird, but seemingly effective. Pfeiffer seems to be a little bit stronger in the race as well. The qualifying performance suggested that it was going to be a bit of a Ferrari washout in the same way that the Lotus Evora was so strong in the GT4 Trophy, but in the race, I don't know whether that's just because the likes of Donaire and Mosin have dropped away because of that first lap incident. However, it does seem to be less strong compared to the rest of the field than it was in the qualifying position. As here we go once again, two Ferraris battling on this occasion. Attila Donaire makes his way into 15th position. He's about to make his way onto the back of this very long train for 5th position.
I wonder if Bakker made a mistake there, because Dinner got past him so soon on the straight. He got past him through the kink. Normally when we've seen some things there, we've seen the drivers really having to dive it into the far chicane, but he was past him so soon. I wonder just if there was a bit of a gravel on the, if the car went through the gravel of Bakker just a quarter before. But either way, Dinner up inside the top 15, which he'll be happy with, being down pretty much last by the time we were finishing the first lap.
Yeah, he certainly was. As we go on board with Axel Vermeulen, the race leader here at the Nurburgring. Just under 16 minutes to go for him. And it's a controlled pace, 4 seconds. He's got Max Pfeiffer exactly where he wants him at this stage, and unless this gap starts coming down quite quickly, then he will be a race winner by the end. But he's got a long way to go, got more than half the race to execute here before he can start to think about how he's going to celebrate.
Exactly, don't get ahead of yourself. That is one of the biggest sort of mentality thing that you have to get over in the sim racing. Still 15 minutes left, still plenty of laps, plenty of braking zones that you could get wrong, which is not what we want to be seeing. Of course, we want to be seeing some nice consistent racing, and actually Pfeiffer gaining a few tenths on the last lap, getting just under that 4 seconds, although it's just gone up as we come out onto this back straight. But I don't think Vermeulen is just going to run off into the distance here. I think he's going to be held a little bit more as Pfeiffer gets past, just showing his speed in that AMG.
Yeah, just looking very strong indeed. Oh my word, that was a slide from Wittwert, but he saved it just about. This is a little bit further back, and just in the background here, you would have seen Attila Donaire not so long ago, but he's dropped back again, back to 20th now. Not entirely sure if there was contact with someone else or whether that was a solo car incident, but he has certainly dropped down, and he's now in 20th position once again, unfortunately, as Victor Straitmans now makes his way onto the outside line of Sebastian Murray into turn number 1, although he's not able to make it work either. For whatever reason, once again, that Mercedes, loads of sparks. We've got smoke and all sorts going on here. Giesler has gone around. The Mackerbergs are now together again. Something has clearly gone on there as we're 3 wide through the Mercedes arena now. That's Hakim trying to get involved. Straitmans gets through on Sebastian Rear, and now Hakim is going to try and get both of them.
Oh, and I think he might just about at least get one of them. I think he might get to Sebastian Ray. Yes, he does, coming down this little short shoot towards turn number 5. So the guy's starting to make a couple of mistakes, a couple of crazy battles here and there. They're all slowing down. Actually, Strowman's not having the best exit there as we come towards the hairpin. Here's Akeem going to be able to dive past another one here into the hairpin, trying to go a bit wide, trying to get that cutback, which you can't do, as we saw a few times as Ray dives it down the inside. When you've got a car behind you like that, you can't do that opposite line, as we're now starting to get some more cars getting involved. Markovsky right on the back of them now.
Yeah, he is indeed. Just in this battle for 10th position. Is Straightman's going to be able to get away though very quickly? It looks like he might be able to. Hakim is going to is he going to struggle to stay with him or not at the Malaysian? Oh, figuring out time zones here, Cam. It must be not a favourable time in the morning for him.
No.
If he is actually in Malaysia, I'm not entirely sure where these guys are geographically at the moment, but that can't be favourable. Same for Takazawa, a little bit further down as well in Japan. It's got to be early.
I think it's one of those things where you kind of get used to it in that way. I mean, it must be sort of 3 o'clock in the morning or something in that range for those guys over there. But I definitely know there's quite a few. I mean, there's lots of Indonesian drivers that get involved sometimes as well, and in certain series, and for one way or another, the only thing I can really think of is that you just get used to racing at those times. Where obviously, we saw in the previous race there was an Argentinian driver as well, and that would be sort of more lunchtime, which is a little bit nicer. But certainly racing at night is good commitment if that is true. Yeah,
absolutely. We do take it for granted here in Europe quite often about everything starting at a reasonable time, because I think you're right. The world is kind of calibrated to Europe, I find sometimes, or oftentimes, and we kind of just make everyone else deal with it,
especially in sim racing.
Yeah, well, just in sport generally, I feel.
Yeah, sure. Obviously, that's where there's a lot of, the what's the word, like the marketing side of thing, and just loads of the teams and things like that. But for sure, it's good to see when more international drivers get involved, because that's the cool thing with sim racing, is that you could be anywhere in the world and still have a competitive race, which is great to see. And also the fact that there's just talent all over the globe. It doesn't matter where you are, and it's good to see more international drivers getting involved. As you say, in the more European events, you can just see just with a quick scroll how many German drivers there are on this grid. For instance, we've got some Russian drivers in there, some Belgian and Dutch drivers as well. So all over Europe. But it's good to see when you get the odd driver here and there coming in from overseas.
It is certainly good to see. I do like the fact on RaceRoom we can see kind of all the time where they're from as well, because it does make things nicer, maybe a little bit more personal as well for these drivers to really get to know them a little bit better. As we look at Sven Mackenberg at the moment, a man we do know quite well. Right, and 6th position, that was late on the brakes from Gail Gortner, but just about pulls it up in time to hold on to that place ahead of Sokovikov. Of course, in the kind of one-off events, the kind of special events, we do have different time zones for those of you around the world. Different time zones for those races, like we had at Bathurst last Friday, and had for Daytona earlier on in the year, the other special events throughout the year as well, which is always nice. Yeah, a little bit of an international taste to this field with Hakimi in 11th at the moment, and he is well in amongst most of the battling at the moment. Stroikmans, I was wondering whether he's going to get away from that field, really. It was such a manic battle. I was kind of hoping for his sake that he might be able to get out of it, but it doesn't look like he's been able to do that. Akeem giving him a hard time. Sebastian really not too far behind as well in 12th position. And you've got Markovsky and Mosin battling 13th, a little bit further back as well. But where can Mosin recover to? That is the main question of today, because ever since lap 1, he's just been overtaking cars slower than him, basically, and that's what he needs to do to kind of almost save his championship earlier on.
Oh, definitely, if you want to fight. And the top 3 in the championship do get trophies, like a physical prize, which is great to see, because it's always cool if you have a little shelf or something that you collect prizes and medals over the years. And sim racing, it is good to see that even when you are all over the world, you can still get a physical trophy indeed, which is nice, as long as as well as the virtual racing points to be spent in the game as well, which goes towards the top 10. So yeah, but certainly the trophy is nice, and As you say, if you want to be challenging, you really need to be getting the points in the first couple of races. Mosin getting back up there. And back to Akeem, I was just checking, he started in 21st place, if I'm not mistaken. So the fact of him getting up into P11 just shows the pace that he does have. As a little bit far behind, we've got a bit of a battle there, actually, between a couple of German drivers, of Mosin trying to get himself up into 3rd place with Makovsky.
Yeah, he is indeed. Was up right inside that top 3 earlier on, but has now dropped back quite a lot. This battle for 5th place has indeed stretched out quite a lot in the last few moments. Ever since we saw, oh goodness, who was it? Gisler drop out of that fight. It really has spread out. The two Makamud brothers are running car lengths apart at this stage, so they can't afford to go wrong anywhere, but they have got a little bit of space. Ortner can't quite get on terms, neither can Sokovikov by the looks of things at the moment. The gap for the lead of the race here comes 2.4 seconds. It's the closest it has been all day long, but there's only 4 laps to go at the line, and we can see Max Pfeiffer running out of laps at the front of the field.
Yeah, he certainly is. The gap, as you're saying, is coming down. The fastest lap between the pair is literally within half a tenth of each other, so they're so close on the pace. That fast lap is about 3/10 quicker than Wittwert behind them as well, and even quicker, about 9/10 quicker than Naj in at 4th place. So certainly the top 2 are in a league of their own with the fastest lap pace, but it's also the consistency, and it seems like Piper's got a little bit more consistency as he's got that gap down to Vermeulen, but it's so close, so not many laps to go, so I think he's going to struggle. But let's see if he can maybe have a hint, a sniff on that final lap if Vermeulen makes a mistake.
Yeah, it will all come down with a bit of a mistake as Mackenberg begins to become under a little bit of pressure from his brother. We were told, by the way, at Daytona that they are. I didn't realise. I'm not sure who's older, but somebody will know. So there we are. But it's definitely an interesting fight. I don't know about you, Cam, but I don't know how much I'd enjoy fighting against a sibling out on the road like this. It's not. I don't know how good it would be, really. They might have a really close relationship, and they might be really enjoying this, or they could be hating each other at the minute. Oh, who knows? Yeah,
it's an interesting one. There's quite a few sort of sibling relationships and things like that going around sim racing, and it's nice to see. But actually, I don't know how it would be. I only really have I've got a couple of older siblings, but only really a sister that I grew up with, and I couldn't imagine obviously racing with her, but to have a brother would be a little bit would it be a little bit different, because I'm sure they're very competitive, just in general with other things,
in life, yeah.
Other sports maybe and stuff. So I'm sure that would get quite competitive. And how would they race against each other? Would some would say they might even be more sort of harsh to each other and more aggressive to each other?
Yeah, quite possibly. Certainly be on your mind when you're battling with them. But anyway, 2 different cars, of course, that you're seeing out there as well. One of the only McLarens out there. We did see one for Felipe earlier on, but he made a big error at turn number 1. We didn't really get much chance to speak about it at the time, Cam, because there was all sorts of chaos happening, but it just looked like a kind of outbreaking kind of manoeuvre, very similar to what we saw from Ian Pfeiffer at the GT4 race. Kind of when you're on the inside like that, all your braking markers are on the other side of the road, and yeah, just an outbreaking at the worst possible time. There's outbreaking there as well. Sebastian Reed trying to get down the inside of Akeem, and side by side out of the final corner between the 2 Mercedes, and Mosin trying to get through on both of them.
Yeah, that was not a nice one. I think really Ray should probably give up that position, as we saw with Mackenberg a little bit early on. It was a bit difficult though, because they got Mosin right behind them, side by side into the braking zone. The 2 Mercedes, a little bit more contact between them. Mosin trying to get up the inside, but not quite close enough. As now Ray holds on to that position. Hakeem having to try and cut back in the inside. Can he get a run actually towards turn number 3? Not quite. Maybe a little bit more contact between them. This is in the braking zone once again as Ray goes a little bit too slow. That's going to let Mosin up the inside now. Turn number 4, side by side with Akeem. Bit more contact between the pair.
Yeah, a little bit more rubbing, but Akeem looks like he's going to hold on by the looks of things. Inside line for the next corner, although Mosin's not going to give that one up. Finally has to. This, by the way, is a battle between 2 Mercedes, of course, but the old version versus the Evo version going side by side briefly there. Akeem in the Evo trying to get through on the older Sebastian Reed driven Mercedes, but it's all allowed. Mosin, Makovsky and Gisler all into the fray. Was expecting McCoskey to maybe be a little bit higher up here today. Giesler has dropped back from a battle higher up. Mosin dropped back on the first lap, so there's a lot of cars out of position here. Maybe cars that will be thinking that they are faster than these two, want to get through as quickly as possible, but Mosin is finding it very difficult to get through here. But although I think it would be easier for him if these two were kind of on their own. When you've come up against two cars so close like this, it can be difficult to get them both.
Yeah, you just got to really wait for one to make a move on the other and then try and capitalise from that as we're on board with Mosin here coming up towards the far chicane, looking to the inside, trying to get himself bigger than the mirrors, trying to force a mistake there from Akeem as we come through that very fast sequence of corners. Akeem looking to dive it down the inside, trying to get a bit of a wide line, get a bit of a switchback to get a run down towards turn number one. How is he going to do this? How aggressive is he going to be, really? Because he needs to attack. Otherwise, Mosin is going to be coming down the inside of him as well. We're getting a three-way slipstream towards turn number one. Ray breaks a little bit early. Akeem goes towards the outside of turn number one. Mosin up the inside, though. I don't think he's going to be able to get either of them. As actually Akeem, he makes a bit of a mistake on the exit, and Mosin is through.
And Akeem's going around and can't quite save it. He just about keeps things going, but he's not going to hold on to the place. He's going to lose another couple as well. He comes out side by side with Giesler, who's going to have the inside line for turn 4, and they rub a little bit more. Giesler sends him off into the tarmac on the left-hand side and takes 14th position. That was a very, very physical battle between the two. Mosin makes his way through, so does Matkowski. Giesler gains as well, and Akeem is going to be very disappointed. A lot of his hard work there, as you mentioned, qualified down the order. A lot of his hard work has been undone there in that sector. Yeah,
that is a big shame of him. Such a good run through the field, but that just shows you how a bit of a mistake. To be honest, he's kind of started with Ray pushing him out of the way, which I'm sure he's not going to be too happy about. There might be a couple of words here and there after the races. Now Alex Mosin is trying to get past Ray to get himself back inside the top 11, which, to be honest, is a lot higher than I thought he would be, with him being pretty much last towards the beginning part of this race, and he is starting to close in and trying to get this slipstream as we come out onto the back straight.
Yeah, can't take anything away from him here, but of course the fact that this race has been the longest one of the day has certainly helped him here. We've seen a number of others who qualified well struggle to get through the order because of a lack of minutes, really, but Mosin has had time on his side. It looks like 11th is going to be the limit, but it'll absolutely take that after what he experienced through the first lap of this race. Through the final corner for the penultimate time as the leaders are going on to the final lap. It's Mosin trying to get through on Sebastian Ritt. Two Germans battling away, but no moves into turn one. It looked like the two BMWs were side by side a little bit further up, and here they are. Ortner's on the inside, Sokovikov trying to make his way through, maybe into the Mercedes arena, dives it at turn 3, can only get his nose there and can't really make a move.
Yeah, not just yet, but I think he'd get a better run than that, actually, out to turn 4, but he went so wide, he didn't really make up the positions that he wanted as we jump to the Mackenberg brothers. Sven behind Marvin there in 5th and 6th place. But this is, as you say, the final lap of the race. This is really the final opportunities for them to try and have a look. But it looks like the gaps between the drivers are a little bit too big. But one that has come down is that between Vermeulen and Pfeiffer there at the front. It's under 2 seconds now. Maybe if Pfeiffer could have got through a bit earlier on in the race, he could have challenged, because he's dumped him by about 5.5 seconds. But just not enough laps for him to catch Vermeulen.
No, only seconds remaining for this man, Axel Vermeulen, in the Ferrari, the much fancied car heading into this race. It's performed. It's not quite got the complete washout at the front of the field that it was expected, because Max Pfeiffer has been keeping him honest all day long. But it's going to be Axel Vermeulen to win the first round of the GT3 Pro Series in the RaceRoom Ranked Championship 2022. Season 1 getting off to the best possible start for the Belgian, with victory at the Nurburgring. Great drive from him ahead of Pfeiffer and Wittvoet, who round out the top 3. Great racing a little bit further down as well. But yeah, we barely saw Vermeulen all day because he was out front and winning.
And look at this. So many cars, actually. The back end of the sort of top 15 trying to find places on this final lap. 6 cars all diving into the final corner. Sebastian Ray is going to hold on to that position in the end. Akeem, a couple of cars behind him. He's going to be not too happy with the way he was sort of pushed out of the way in some places, changing hands a little bit lower down.
Yeah, Mosin actually got through in the end on the run to the line. So what was that all about? Sebastian really looks like he just slowed down through the final corner for whatever reason. Mosin managed to get his way through. We saw in the background there, Attila Denner had got himself involved here as well. If he hadn't had that spin earlier on, he could have got so much more out of this race, but it's only 16th. He gave Hakim a hard time through the final couple of moments. As Pavel Mukonin, the man from Stavropol in Russia, comes to a stop. 22nd, disappointed for him today as well. A number of the best rated drivers down the order. Axel Vermaelen on top, though, ahead of Max Pfeiffer and Vitvo in third. Nudge, after not a great qualifying, gets into fourth ahead of the two Mackenberg brothers. Ortner and Sokovikov were next ahead of Cadio and Straitmans, rounding out the top 10. It was Mosin, Rear, Makovsky, Gisler, Hakim and Dunner coming over the line in one big mob in that battle for 10th. Baka, Yoni, Dimitrov, Dreyer, Georgiev, Makonin and Takawazawa. Some of the others, with Felipe not making it to the line. So that is it for the GT3 Pro Series here in this race cam. A very enjoyable race, a little bit of a longer race, which has been a bit welcome. The other two were obviously very short and sharp, but you did get the feeling that you'd like them to go on for 5 minutes more longer because we were enjoying the battles. But that one did feel like a nice distance. Half an hour GT3 race is a nice distance.
It certainly is. But the short and sharp races for the pro. For the AM and the rookie cars is also a nice one. Keeps you wanting a bit more, and we certainly will have a bit more of that because the M235Is and the GT4s proved to be really good racing, and I'm sure that's going to be even better by the time we get towards Spa-Francorchamps in a couple of weeks' time as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have a look at the schedule in a few moments' time in terms of where we're going to be going to next. Because, yeah, we do still have rounds remaining of this championship. 4 of them here in this championship, of course. And here they are, Spa on the 1st of June. You'll be very glad to know that you won't be hearing from me. It will be Lewis McGlade and Cam Roger for that one. Zandvoort in the weeks after that with me and Cam back again. And Watkins Glen for the finale. I have a feeling about Watkins Glen, Cam. We're going to be doing a lot of maths. 3 sets of maths throughout that event because we're going to see some very tight championships, I'm sure.
Absolutely. It's been certainly a pretty an amazing start to the season, and I'm sure that's going to continue. As you said, once we get to Watkins again, those points are going to be all trying to work them out. So definitely get yourself signed up for the next 3 races if you have not already. You can check out that obviously on on the RaceRoom Discord and also in the game on the competition pages as well. Get yourself involved because it's been great racing today.
It certainly has been, and I hope to see you in a couple of weeks' time for some more great racing at Spa-Francorchamps. For now, though, from all of us here at RaceRoom, we thank you very much to everybody who's tuned in here tonight, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time for the next race at Spa. So we'll see you soon.
The outside, the inside of Malmedy. They're so tight once again. It was